Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, and welcome to this final video in this Intro to React 2024 video series. Now again, the purpose of the video series isn't so you know absolutely every possible thing about React, but to give you an introduction so that you can start playing with React, experimenting, and getting familiar with the ecosystem. Okay, so there will be future video series where I'm going to go over specific libraries. Probably the next one I'm going to do is React Router, which this will kind of lead into. So the idea behind this video is going to show you how to kind of do routing-like behavior without a library. Okay, so the idea is how to make it feel like a multi-page application when really what you're building is a single-page application. Because again, with React, everything's technically one HTML file. You're just swapping out components. You're just using JavaScript to keep updating the DOM. You never actually go to another page. But most people are used to websites with multiple pages. So the question is like, how do you simulate that? Okay, so with that, let's create a new setup. Close all here. I'm going to create another folder called multi-page. Okay, and then we'll basically create a new file called multipage.jsx. And you guys know the drill. I create the component, and we're going to return a div that says multi-page. I will export default multi-page. Oops. Multi-page. And then we'll go swap that out in our app. So that way we're using this going forward for this lesson. So import multi-page. And then here we'll use multi-page. Okay. Although I do realize, like, I think I spelled it wrong. Yep, I did. I'll let that go because it's all working. Okay. So here's the idea. Okay. We want to make it feel like there's multiple pages. Right now, there really isn't a built-in sort of way of routing in React. Okay. So first, let's just show you sort of like how can I get different things to render conditionally and maybe make links between them in a simple way. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this all in one file. Okay. Just to kind of really illustrate page 1, page 2, page 3. So here we're going to have function page 1. Okay. Okay, which is just going to basically return a div that says page 1 right now. Okay, and I'm going to create 3 of these. This will be page 2 and page 3. Okay, so these will be our 3 pages. Right now I'm getting warning because I haven't used them yet, but we will. So how would I pull this off? I would use state, okay? Because again, you can't update a component without state. So import use state, okay, from React. Okay. Then what I would do, well, first we'll show you this, like the simplest implementation. We're just going to say, hey, you create a const, we'll say page, set page, and then by default, it'll equal use state, and the default value will be page 1. Okay, so there's our use state. But then I want to make sure that, like there's no accidents. People don't accidentally mistype page. So in order to kind of avoid that, I'm just going to create a function for sort of each one, okay? So I'm going to say const page 1. We're going to have a page 1 function. That's basically what it does is it's going to set page to page 1. Okay, and then I'm going to do that same thing for page 2 and 3. Okay. Okay. Cool. And then what we're going to do is that based on, we're going to do a switch statement. So we'll say, hey, switch based on what the value of page is. And I will just get rid of this. We won't need this. It'll error for a second. That's fine. Okay. Switch page, and we'll do the case of page 1. And what it'll do there, it'll return page 1. And if it is... oh, I put a capital. That's why it's complaining. Switch. Okay. And then if it's case page 2, so if the value of page is page 2, then again, I'm assuming you know what a switch statement is. If not, watch one of my videos on switch statements. Return. It's just basically a fancy if statement. Then instead of saying, hey, if this is true, it's saying if this value equals that value. So in this case, does page equal page 1? Does it equal page 2? And then case page 3. Return page 4 or page 3, and then you put a default, which is like what happens if it doesn't match any of them. So for some reason the state changes to anything else, we return h1 no matching page. Cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift these links. So I'm going to create an object called links, const links equals an object that has page 1, page 2, page 3, has all these functions in it. Okay, the reason being, it'll be just much easier if I just basically allow any page to link to any page by giving it the links object. Okay, so I'm going to pass it this links object with these functions. Okay, I just want this, Control C. Okay, so there we go. So basically what we said is our main page, and basically which page it renders, which component is going to render is just going to be depending on what the value of this state is. Okay, and again, at the end of the day, when we use something like a React router, this is essentially what it's doing under the hood. There's some sort of state, and then you're going to set up sort of routes saying, hey, if this is the URL, then render this component, but it gives the field sort of multiple pages. So now I can go here and then add, pass props to all of these. Let me just do that to all 3 of them, because we know that all 3 of them are receiving props. And actually all 3 of them are specifically receiving that links prop. So I can just specifically pull that out. Okay, and then we can see, basically I can do something like this and just say, hey, h1, okay, page 1. And then we'll create a couple buttons. And when you click this one on click, it's going to run links.page2. Okay. And then I can have another button that links to page 3. And actually, no, I should not put the parentheses there. I want that. Okay. So there I am in page 1. Save. I have the 2 buttons, and again, I can click page 2. Actually, again, page 3. I click on that button. It takes me to page 3. Okay, so now it feels like I switched pages, but all it did was really just update the component, and then it's just rendering a different component instead of the component it was rendering before, making it feel like I switched pages. Okay, so now I can just kind of copy this for each of these just to make this a little bit easier. Boop. Boop. Okay, get rid of these extra semicolons. Okay, and now we just change the numbering on this, so this is going to be page 2. This should be page 1. Okay, and then I go to page 3, and this should be page 3, and then this should be page 1. And then I should probably move this line before that line. I always forget the shortcut for doing that easier, but cool. Okay, so now we have these 3 page components, and I can click the links and I can navigate between all of them. Okay, I can click the links and travel between them. Okay, so basically, again, I can turn these into full-blown pages. So again, even without an external library, you can create this sort of multi-page feel using something like this. There's different ways you could pull this off, but this would be the general idea. Okay, the only problem is like there's no URL. Like this doesn't update up here, which would probably mess with people. They would be like, hey, what's the URL for that specific page? And this is why libraries like React Router are popular, because they're going to give the experience that the user typically expects. So we'll do a whole video series on React Router in the future, but essentially just so you can kind of see like how you can simulate kind of things. Because at the end of the day, all these building blocks can be used any way you want. The only limit is your imagination. And basically the best way to kind of stretch the limits of your imagination is to go out there and just write React code, try out different things, and kind of, use your dev tools to kind of examine, hey, what does the HTML that's being outputted look like? Are my console logs generating? Okay, what is like the state and props in the different components that I see? And again, you can see here when I click, the components are changing. So you see it's changing from the page 1 component, page 2 component. I'm actually re-rendering and just rebuilding that component tree. That's all that's happening. I'm not actually going to another page, but it can feel that way. So that's sort of like what routing, this kind of like way of working, does. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Hopefully I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Ciao.